In this episode of the Weekend Animation Studio, I'll be working on my motion control rig and hopefully getting the focus puller working so we can have some nice focus pulls. If you've been watching the motion control videos I've made, you will know that I've mentioned that the focus puller doesn't work. So I grabbed the rig's electronics, opened the box up and got cracking. Before we plug anything in, we need to figure out all the possible places where a problem could happen. So I started looking at the motor driver.
Okay, so here we have the insides of the electronics of the rig. You can see the Arduino board down there. So here we can see the 4 motor drivers, and the one on the end with here, this label that says max 1.46 amps is for the focus puller. So what we're going to start off by doing, good look over all of the connections first. So then what I'm going to do is, after we've checked all the connections on there, we are going to have a look and see if the motor does turn. If the motor doesn't turn, that's okay. We're going to test it with a different motor driver to see if that works, because we know that the first 3 motor drivers definitely do work. If that doesn't work, then we know it's an issue either with the motor driver or with the cable or the motor. Now, I doubt there's going to be a problem with the motor anyway, because of conversations I have had with other motion control technicians in the past and recently. So then we will try and figure out whereabouts the problem is, and we'll try and fix that. Okay, let's get cracking.
I checked all the connections, the power, the motor connection and the signal wires, and then tested the motor, which didn't work. In fact, I was able to spin the shaft on the motor, which you're not supposed to be able to do if the motor is powered. So this told me that there was an issue between the motor and the driver. So I unplugged everything and checked the plug that connects the motor to the electronics box. I undid all the wires, retwisted them and put them back into the connectors, and plugged everything in, and then I fired everything back up, and success! The motor powered on, and I wasn't able to turn the shaft with my hand. However, even though the motor was powered, it was not responding to the commands I was giving it. So this meant there was an issue somewhere between the Arduino board and the motor driver. The wires were difficult to follow, as I had chosen the same colour wires for all the signal wires in the electronics box, which, while it looked nice, it didn't help it when it came to me trying to follow the cables. Okay, good news. We have power to the motor. So it's come out of here, it's gone through this cable, through those contacts, which is plugged in here, so we know this is wired up properly and that works. It goes along this wire like that to the motor, which is under power at the moment, so I can't turn it. So it's receiving the power. However, when I tell it to move via the computer, it's not receiving it. So that tells us there's an issue with the signal wire that goes from the driver. It goes from the Arduino to the driver. So we've just got to go in and have a look there, see if there's anything I can fix. I checked all the connections when I eventually did find them, and tried testing the motor under power again, and still nothing. The motor wasn't receiving my commands. So, to test if this was specific to the motor driver, I then changed the current settings on one of the other motor drivers and plugged the motor into this instead. The motor was powered, which was good, and then it responded to the commands and turned. I was so happy I managed to get this working. While I was happy the motor was moving, this still left the mystery of the motor driver not receiving the command signals. While I didn't have the correct tools to look in depth into why this was happening, I decided to focus on what I could do and decided to look at getting the focus puller rigged to the camera for some focus puller tests. As I've mentioned previously, the files to 3D print the focus puller were kindly given to me by Tytherleigh, a fellow animator and motion control technician. Now, the dimensions of my rig don't exactly match up with the focus puller, so I would have to adapt it slightly to get it to fit on my rig. I tried different configurations of the gears and different angles to get everything to engage together. I managed to find a solution that worked, although this involved using one of the spare gears as a spacer.
Yes!
It's not a perfect fix, but it works as the gears turn the lens as the motor does. I quickly cleared my desk and set up a quick shot to test it with. It didn't take me long to create a little character out of plasticine and frame up the shot. Using 2 focus cards, I added the keyframes for the motor and then got animating. The test shot was successful, and even though the focus pull was very quick, it proved that the rig was able to do these. Although the electronics still need looking at, I was happy to get this working, and I'm glad I'll be able to use this on my upcoming projects. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and feel free to check out the other videos on my motion control rig if you are interested in that side of animation.